Hello, dancers, and welcome back. Do you love musical theater? Well, my next guest knows a thing or two about commanding the stage with his extraordinary talent. He's not only an accomplished actor, but he also can sing, dance, and has left audiences mesmerized by his performances. Stick around because this episode will leave you hopeful. Ciao, I'm Anna Harsh, professional dancer, author, and host of The Dance Floor, a podcast that explores the power of dance in our lives through personal stories and interviews with experts. Each episode shares life lessons and advice through the art of dance. Learn how dance inspires confidence, fosters connection, and ways to improve your skills. Whether you are a seasoned dancer or brand new to the art, you'll find something that motivates you in this podcast. So grab your dance shoes and join me on The Dance Floor. Welcome everyone to The Dance Floor, where life lessons are learned through the art of dance. I'm your host, Anna Harsh, and today I have a very talented guest with me, Mr. Sean Amato. Welcome to The Dance Floor, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I know you're kind of a triple threat, like theater, dance, singing, a little bit of guitar. Tell me more.
Well, I studied musical theater at SUNY Cortland. I started out as a very single, not so much threat, I guess you could say. It was a bit of a long journey. I always was drawn to the theater. My grandmother could tell I was a bit of a performer as a kid. I would actually go places and pretend I was in a movie. Like I treated each family outing as if it was a scene. So if we were in a restaurant, it was a dinner scene and so on. And my grandmother took note of this. And she began taking me to see Broadway shows for my birthday, starting with Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was always drawn to it. I loved watching, West Side Story. I had the DVD as a kid. But I didn't begin acting until I was 12. And I was in the 7th grade. And it's a little embarrassing. A girl I had a crush on convinced me to audition for 2 school shows. One was this cabaret night where we, sang in a variety show and our parents would come and eat dinner, basic cabaret. And the other was my first musical, Little Shop of Horrors. So
Okay.
that's where the bug started, where I wanted to act. And it was actually pretty unpopular in my circle because I was playing football at the time.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I've taught a lot of football players. I actually had a football player and some basketball players in my dance company over the years, and they were so nervous every game time because they knew he didn't want to get hurt because they were performing the next day or so at an outdoor festival with my dance company. So they're like, Coach, you got to make sure that I don't get hurt because I want to dance tomorrow. But the training really did, that cross training really did help them. Dancing and, any kind of athletic sports is always a good connection to have because they became way more flexible, way faster on the field. And I had one baseball player that his coach asked him, what are you doing differently? And he said, well, I'm taking yoga and I'm doing some ballet bar. And he's like, really? So it's just that flexibility and agility and the quickness on the field. They just noticed a difference. So, kudos for you to take that leap and jump into the arts world. But once you get that bug, you got to do it.
No going back.
There's no going back.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can't take full credit, though, for making that full jump. I have to go back to my grandmother, as, most of us do.
Right.
She took me to see the show Billy Elliot, which,
wow.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see the correlation there with Billy's father wants him to, box, and he wants to study ballet, and so she was very smart with that. She definitely knew what she was doing there.
Yeah, we watched a lot of musical theater when I was younger. My mom just loved musical theater, and we would always, anytime it was on TV, we were always watching it. And I think that's where I sort of loved musical theater dance for sure. And that's why I've choreographed over 70 musicals now throughout my career. So I've done a lot of different kinds of styles, and I just fall in love with the story. Like you said, I've been in West Side Story, and I played a shark girl, and was in all of those amazing scenes and that iconic dance number, of course, in the gym. But yeah, falling in love with theater and music and being on stage, it's different. what inspires you to keep going? Like when you audition for things, what inspires you?
Oh God. So, I mean, I can go through the list of who inspires me and, what projects have inspired me. But the main thing that has inspired me recently, and especially after the pandemic, has been hope. I recently watched Sylvester Stallone's documentary Sly. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Yeah.
And the last line that he says in the documentary is, "I'm in the hope business."
Wow. Yeah.
And that really struck me because it made me realize what kind of shows I'm really passionate about. I want to do a show or a film that is deep, has strong lessons in it, something that teaches the audience something, but in
Right.
the end leaves the audience feeling hopeful and that whatever they learned, it's achievable and can make the world a better place.
Amen to that. I think I like creating choreography that is thought provoking, like you said, and hopeful. You want to leave the audience with some kind of feeling. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what's powerful about the arts, isn't it? It reflects our life and our journeys and truth. And like you said, hope. Gosh, we
Mhm.
need more hope right now for sure. What is your audition process like? Tell us about your recent audition, maybe for theater, or what are you working on right now?
So audition wise, it's been a little weird for me audition wise because I've been doing a lot of video auditions since the pandemic, and for the
True.
last year and a half, I've been a company member at a theater called Theater 3 in Port Jefferson, New York.
Nice.
So that's where a lot of my work has been coming from. I've been performing in all their in-house children's theater. I've been in their 3 touring shows, which includes 2 anti-bullying shows and an educational show about the Holocaust. Their annual production of A Christmas Carol, where I played Scrooge's nephew, and we
Oh,
closed that this past December. And right now we're doing our annual One Acts Festival, where we are performing 8 new plays by playwrights from all over the country. I'm
wow.
currently in 2 of the One Acts. It's a great festival. It's so wonderful. The playwrights come and, I'm in 2 of them. The first being called The Curse, where I play opposite my girlfriend and I'm playing a merman, which is a fun time. And another one called Hike to Heart Lake, which follows a group of 5 friends through their entire lives, ranging from their 20s to their deaths. It's very, very deep, but
That
I'm
is deep.
very yeah, it's a beautiful piece. And at first reading it, I was like, oh, this is, it's 5 friends, whatever. But then diving into it, I'm like, oh, no, this tackles loss. It tackles, almost sarcasm and of getting old and how death becomes casual in a way. It's a
Right.
very harsh, but almost uplifting at the same time. Yeah, yeah, it's so real. And
Hmm.
auditioning, since then, I've done a lot of the, New York City auditions. I go into the city. For me, going through the process, I have to start with waking up and doing something physical, where I'll wake up and I'll exercise in the morning, get myself awake, get in the right mindset. I'm on the train, I'm listening to music that pumps me up. I have to listen to certain songs, like Lose Yourself by Eminem is a big one for me, but then I
That's
follow
awesome.
that with My Way, Sinatra's My Way.
Right.
So, it's kind of a range of music that I got to listen to on the way there.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah. I listen to music too to prepare. Do you research about the character at all before you audition or like after you get the part?
Oh, absolutely. Because I want to pick a song that reflects the character, reflects their motives, reflects their wants and objectives. So I have to research the characters prior. I have to identify the wants, which is the most important part. Anyone who's read The Actor Prepares by Konstantin Stanislavski, he says in some of the first couple pages, the most important part of a character is the want, because it will shape everything else with the character. It'll shape their objectives. It'll shape their tactics and their super objectives. So yeah, the identifying the wants of the character is probably the most important thing. And almost, I don't want to say the easiest thing, but the most achievable thing to identify in a short time. Because, if I'm going into an audition and I'm like, oh God, how in this hour and a half that I'm preparing am I going to figure out the way they walk and they talk and, how they feel about their mother. But if I figure out what they want in the scene, that can drive the rest of the character for that time being. And then
Like,
if I get the role, I can do more research.
I agree. Do you ever think about your why? Everybody talks about their why. Like, why did you get into theater or why do I get into dance? I talk about that in my first book, my why. And I
Hmm.
kept thinking about that before I wrote my second book, even. And sometimes I keep a little piece of paper that says, why are you dancing today? Or, what drives you? And sometimes people really dive deep into why did I choose this? Or why do I keep
Hmm.
choosing this? I guess I should say. So do you ever think about your why?
On a personal level, yes, I feel like, but it's subconsciously.
Right.
I guess I've always followed the want so much that the why is there because I think, what do I want and why do I want it? It's there,
Exactly.
and it follows the want. But yeah, I find myself, as I'm sure many people do in this industry, sometimes like I wake up in the morning, I'm getting ready for rehearsal, I'm like, why? Like,
Yeah.
why am I, I go to bed, I'm so sore from, X, Y, and Z, and I wake up and
Right.
I'm like last week or 2 weeks ago, we had to go out and do a touring show out in Staten Island and then come home and do a rehearsal. And, we just
It's
closed
a
a
lot.
53 run show. Yeah. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And then it's like, oh, it's because I want.
Yeah, I think about my why quite a bit, because I've been dancing since I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And so it's a long time to devote for your life, for that part of your career. And so I keep thinking about why, and I think the why keeps changing, but it always draws me back in. It's always a yes,
Mm.
but maybe the reason why is changing. So right now, my why is to save these precious dances from disappearing from, these Italian folk dances that I've been researching. So that's sort of my new why, I guess. But I love serving people in a sense. Performing is serving. You're giving them something to watch, something to think about, and maybe you change their mindset about a situation or a problem, so I think the why can change throughout your career, but I'm always curious to ask somebody their why.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm gonna have to carry that with me for a while. And, now my day to day, ask myself why. And
Absolutely. It will change your day and it will change your mindset. Do you have something that you put in your bag before you go to an audition or before you perform? Like, you're like, I have to take this in my bag with me.
not my bag, but in my car, I
Okay.
actually have. So I have my grandmother, who I mentioned earlier, took me to the theater a lot. I have her watch that sits on my directional shifter,
Oh, that's sweet.
and above me is my other grandmother's prayer card, and
Nice.
in the picture is my grandfather
Oh,
with her. So when I'm going to these auditions and I'm going to these shows, I'm able to, if I'm driving there, I'm able to kind of play with those two and look at them before I go in.
yeah.
You
Kind of give you
know,
that support that you're just right before you go into the room or right before you get out
yeah,
of your car. I get that.
yeah,
That's
and
nice.
it makes me feel like they're there. They can no longer see my performances, and even though they had a huge hand in getting me there,
Right.
and I like to think that when I do that, they know I'm going into a show or an audition or a performance, and that they're with me and they see it.
No, I love that. Everybody has something different, a good luck charm, or they say something, or they have to slap hands 3 times, or
Mhm.
whatever it is. Everybody has their own little thing that they do before, they go on stage or whatever. And I think that's just interesting. We all have our little things that we do or take with us that help us along our journey and get us on stage and have a great performance. Sean, I know that you've had some experience. So what would you tell the next generation? What advice do you have for them maybe about auditioning or about theater or getting into dance? I know it's hard for theater actors to dance a little bit. What would your advice be?
So there's a few things, and this is something I try to bring with me everywhere. You gotta love it. The industry, as everyone will tell you, is hard. And there are days, like I said, I wake up and think, God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself?
Right, right,
And the answer is because I love this life so much.
right.
I can't live without it. There's been portions of my life where I've done other things, especially during the pandemic, to work, and I didn't, they were good jobs. If I was any other person, maybe I'd still be doing them, but I didn't love them.
Right.
I didn't love those jobs the way I love this industry. The second thing is, this is a little more on a technical and literal, but your network is your net worth. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Chaz Palminteri podcast. I don't know if you listen to them,
I
but
haven't, but I will.
he's great, and I took that right from his. I have to say I took that right from his podcast. He said that one day, and I was like, that is so true. That is so true. I wish I knew that when I was younger, because they teach you it's a healthy competition. I feel like they don't also say that the most important people you're going to meet are the ones you work with, and it's not always the directors or the producers of the world. It's your fellow actors or singers or dancers.
That's right.
We're in the people business.
Yes,
And in that business, it's important to be nice because one day your friend might be in a production of A Bronx Tale and they need someone to fill the role of Calogero or Slick. And
exactly.
you want them to think of you and say, oh, this person's nice. Let me give them a call.
I can't tell you how many jobs I got that way.
Yeah.
So and so, oh, I know somebody that can choreograph this musical, call Anna. Or I know
Mm-hmm.
somebody can dance that role, call Anna.
Mm-hmm.
So networking is huge. We talk about that a
Huge.
lot on my podcast, but you have to keep networking and keep reaching out. I really admired your Instagram account. That's why I reached out to you. And I was like, gosh, I love his passion for theater. I love his passion for his Italian heritage and just his overall joy. Like you said, you have to love what you do. Otherwise, it's going to be work every day. And like
Yeah.
you said, it is hard work. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot
Yes.
of blood, sweat, and tears going on. But when you get to that stage, you hear that applause, you're in the warmth of the lights. Man, there's nowhere else I'd like to be.
No. You can't. I always describe that feeling as the perfect combination between nervousness and excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nowhere else. I can't. I worked in a museum for a while. I was a museum director, and it was nice. I met people every day. I would give tours. It was really rich history. I didn't replicate that feeling of performing though. It was a good
No,
job,
it's
but
not the same.
I couldn't replicate that feeling anywhere. Yeah, it's something that I can't live without.
I agree. I've had a lot of 9 to 5 office kind of jobs going through college and that sort of thing. And I was like, man, when is the clock striking 5? Because I need out of here and into my ballet class. Like, I just couldn't wait to get in a class or to teach the class. I've always worked 2 or 3 jobs, growing up, from 16 on. So I never, got a chance to fully jump into the theater or dance full force. And now that I can, as an older
Mhm.
adult, I love it. And I can't do anything else. Like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to work in an office job. I just want to teach and perform and that sort of thing. So I love it. You're right. There's nowhere else to be.
Mhm.
If you love it, you know it, and you'll
Yeah,
never want to turn back for sure.
absolutely.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions from my books, but can we take a quick commercial break? And right after the commercial break, we're going to dive into a couple of things that I've been talking about in both of my books, and I think you'll enjoy it. So we'll be right back with Mr. Sean Amato.
Journey with me to Italy through my new memoir called La Danza, Conflict, Passion, and Healing. Experience Italy through dance with unique adventures with family and friends. Discover how Allegro Dance Company was formed, along with some amazing opportunities of a lifetime. Part memoir, part travel guide. You will enjoy La Danza, so pick up a copy today after this performance.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Sean, and I have a couple questions, Sean, from my books that I've been publishing out there. And my first book, La Danza, Conflict, Passion, and Healing. I talk about different tarantellas, and those are the themes I kept running across, not only in the tarantellas, but also in my real life. The conflicts, the passion that I had for dance, and the healing, like you said, when somebody does pass away, how do you deal with that? So one of the things that I did in Italy that I just loved was every time my family had a dinner, and after dinner, they're like, let's go for a passeggiata. Let's go for a walk. And I don't know if you do that with your family or if you ever did that with your grandparents, maybe, but I always asked, and I ask it in the book, how do you unwind or reflect on your day?
Hmm. Usually, like on my day to day, I love just sitting with a cup of coffee. Doesn't matter. I'm
Simple.
right
Love it.
now. Like it doesn't matter what I do. If I come home and I just worked all day, or I've been in rehearsal all day.
That's
I'll
your
sit with a
go-to.
cup of coffee. Yeah, that's my go-to. I'll sit. Sometimes I'll sit in the backyard and look at, if it's nice out and just sit under the sun. Sometimes I'll watch a nice show, but it's very just have that moment of
Yeah,
release,
that
you
release.
know.
Well,
Um,
they would take a walk, and my parents used to do this when I was little too. Like after dinner, we'd go for a walk around the neighborhood,
mhm,
and the things that we would talk about were, how was your day? What did
mhm,
you learn today about your day? Who did you meet? And what are your hopes and dreams for tomorrow? What are your plans for tomorrow? So it was a great way to reflect and maybe do a little gratitude work, like, oh yeah, I met a new friend today. I'm really grateful for that. And, I went for a walk, or like you said, I had a cup of coffee and it was great. I just to sit and relax and talk to people. Or maybe just to sit and meditate and be really quiet. So I love that.
yeah, I would do that a lot in the summer. Like I remember my family. in the summertime, we would go on little walks around the block. I live in a neighborhood that's literally a circle. So
Oh, good.
it's nice, we would walk the circle every now and then. And then on holidays, always right before dessert, we go for a walk. I
Oh,
feel like
perfect.
that's, Thanksgiving, go for a walk after you eat,
You got to
you
make
know,
room.
feast of seven fishes. After you eat the last of the fish, you go for a
Right.
walk.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that's very special. And that even if you're not family, your friends, like sometimes my
Mhm.
friends would see me and my family do that. They're like, we go for a walk and talk about our day. So it really encourages other people to be, like we talked about earlier, networking and a community. I talk about community a lot. And I think we just need to be reminded that we need each other. And I think that little walk around the block is just like a, hey everyone, hi. You can say hello to neighbors or just unwind from your day. You need that alone time and time to come back down, especially if you're performing. I don't know about you, but after a performance, your heart rate's so high, your mind is buzzing. You need a little bit of time to come back down from that craziness.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes I'll just drive a little extra.
yeah,
Sometimes if I'm just driving home and I want to, I'll take a long way. Just drive under the
yeah,
stars a little bit.
nothing wrong with that. Sean, my second book is called The Italian Dance Quest because I'm on the quest for all 20 regions to save every dance I can from different regions of Italy. And I'm almost there. I'm around 15 regions, working on those last 5. What my question in the second book, I talk about Rome. And I talk about how as dancers or actors, performers, we have to kind of be strong like a gladiator. Okay. And when I got to Rome, I got a chance to see inside of the Colosseum and meet those faux gladiators on the outside and take a photo and that sort of thing. But I got a chance to really dive deep into who those kinds of people were and what they wore, their armor and their swords and all of that kind of stuff to almost reenact in a sense sometimes in our performances. But I kept thinking about what qualities the gladiators have. So do you have a special quality or a quality of a gladiator that you think you possess personally?
Wow, that's a great question. As far as a certain quality that I try to put forward is I try to be reliable. That is the most important thing to me is that if someone said to you, oh, Sean Amato, what's the first thing that comes to your head? It's reliable.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where we're doing a show and so called out, can you do X, Y, and Z? Or, hey, I need to fill this role. Can you do this?
Right.
And or even just recently, my friend was working on a film and he asked me to be in it, but also help with the boom mic. The reason that they asked me is because I try to make myself reliable.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Um,
Yeah. You're right. They have to rely on each other. And I know when gladiators went into the arena, man, you're either in it to win it or you're not.
mhm.
So you
Yeah.
have to be reliable for sure. I talk about bravery because it's really hard to get on stage. I think people have to know that that's a brave thing to do and that you're vulnerable to be on stage. And you're telling somebody's story, whether it's your personal story or someone else's story or acting someone else's story out. You're putting yourself out there and you're telling that person's truth. And I think
hmm
that's very brave. And I think those gladiators were brave. I mean, I know it was a horrible history about that, but man, I just kept thinking about their qualities and strength, how they had to practice every day just to have a certain routine. And I could relate to that for dancing, that's for sure.
hmm The stakes were raised with them, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. Yeah. I guess
Yeah.
that's a quality I can tie into myself to the gladiators. Their stakes were so high. When they go
Yeah.
in the arena, stakes are high. They got to fight. Yeah, I kind of made that with myself for acting and performing. I don't have a backup plan.
No.
There's nothing I'm going to fall back on. The stakes are raised. If I don't succeed in this industry, that's it for Sean Amato. You know what I mean?
I get it.
That's
I
it.
get it. I totally
So,
understand that. I know we always are told, oh, we'll have a backup plan. Maybe you want to do something else. I'm like, but I don't like anything else.
mhm.
So I get it. There's no backup plan. A to Z, forget that. It's just plan A.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Sean, what's your next thing that you're getting ready to do? You talked about a little bit of your touring. What is your next project that you're working on to perform?
So next up on my current contract with Theater 3, I'm going to be in the producers. I'm going to be
Wow,
in an
that's
ensemble in the
a great
producers.
show.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I love big ensemble shows. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. And after that, I'm working on actually preparing 2 of my own shows for touring. Yeah, I have 2 one-man shows that I wrote. One called Beautiful Life 404, which follows an Italian American actor and how he's reflecting on his journey and how he became who he is today. And the other one, I just started putting the finishing touches on, still workshopping it. It's called The 5 Steps of an Italian Goodbye. Yeah, I had a feeling you might like that one. I was wondering how I was gonna work that into this.
Please send it to me. I want to see it when it's done, and
Sure.
I want to see all about it. I can't wait. I'll be clapping in the audience for you. That's fantastic.
Thank you. I'm hoping to premiere the 5 Steps this summer. I haven't premiered that one yet. So it's much more lighthearted. The first one's very, it's got a big story and
Sure.
very meaningful. The second one, I'm just like, it's like you said, you're like, I want to keep traditions alive, and I want to give people hope. I want them to watch that and feel lighthearted and feel hope. So I'm working on that and, trying to make those eligible for touring as well.
That's awesome. Sean, I know that we are cooking up some things that we might do together in the future, so I look forward to that. And I'll let our listeners know once we have plans finalized and all of that good things. But I wish you the best. I'm so excited for your career. You're an awesome person and so super talented, and your resume speaks volumes. And I'm thrilled to have you on the dance floor today.
Thank you for having me, Anna.
Before you go, let us know where we can follow you. Can we follow your career on Instagram like I do? Tell us what your handle is.
Sure. You can find me at Sean Amato Official. That's SeanAmato Official.
Perfect. I will include that in the listening notes as well, so everybody can follow you and see your amazing theater performances in New York. Sean, I hope you come back and chat some more and tell us your updates on your theater career and your upcoming shows. How exciting.
Yeah, I hope to be back soon. This was great.
Thanks everyone for listening today to The Dance Floor. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Anna Harsh, and until next time, keep moving on the dance floor.